Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Let us begin with the headlines. West Bengal and Odisha brace for cyclonic storm Bulletin that made landfall in Bangladesh. Heavy rains and high-speed winds lash across several states in east and northeast. As the debate on death penalty rages following the hanging of Yaqub Memon, CPI leader D. Rajya to move private members' resolution in Rajya Sabha over abolishing capital punishment in India. Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi to meet protesting students at Pune's FTII. Students had sought support from Rahul over their demand for removal of newly appointment of Chairman Gajendra Chauhan. And Taliban appoint Mullah Omar's deputy Mullah Mansoor as his successor, but a split in Taliban over new appointment. Well, the day's biggest story, cyclonic storm Bulletin has hit the Bangladesh coast. West Bengal and Odisha are bracing for an impact of the cyclone that has triggered heavy rains in these two states. Odisha is already battling floods in 5 districts, and the cyclonic situation is threatening to make the situation worse on the ground.
The next 24 to 48 hours are crucial for West Bengal, Odisha and Jharkhand as cyclone Bulletin in the Bay of Bengal is likely to make landfall later today. The storm hit Bangladesh coast last night and is approaching west and northwestwards. Northeastern states like Mizoram, Tripura and Assam will also witness heavy to very heavy rainfall till tomorrow. Squally wind speed reaching 50 to 60 km per hour, gusting to 70 km per hour would prevail along of West Bengal, North Odisha, Mizoram and Tripura in next 24 hours.
Impact of this cyclone will be over West Bengal, particularly the South Bengal state. Heavy to very heavy rainfall is likely for West Bengal districts during next 24 hours.
West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee cut short her foreign visit to personally oversee relief operations. The Odisha government too issued fresh flood alert in the wake of cyclone Bulletin. About 4 lakh people have been affected as the state is already bearing flood situation in 5 districts. Although the Met Department says that cyclone Bulletin will decrease further to become a deep depression. Bureau report for Rajya Sabha Television.
And the situation is no different in other parts of the country as well. Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan are witnessing heavy rains causing flood-like situation in these states. The continuous rains from the last 5 days in Rajasthan's Mount Abu and landslides have created trouble for tourists. At least 4 people have died in Jalore district in Rajasthan, and many areas are submerged in water due to torrential rains affecting normal life. Gujarat also is affected badly. Incessant rains have claimed 22 lives in the state, and the army and the NDRF have been called in for rescue operations. Heavy downpour has thrown life out of gear in North Gujarat and Kutch region. The situation is no different in Madhya Pradesh, where heavy rains have increased the water level of Sardar Sarovar Dam on the Narmada River. For the first time, the water level has crossed the danger mark this monsoon. And it is not just India. Torrential rains are also hitting Nepal, where the landslides swept through villages, killing at least 30 people. The landslides struck the villages near the resort town of Pokhara, which is 125 kilometers west of Kathmandu. In the village of Lumle, about half of the homes were buried or destroyed by a torrent of mud and rocks. Lumle is about 15 kilometers from the start of Annapurna Circuit, which is a hiking route around the world's 10th tallest mountain that attracts over 1 lakh tourists a year. 2 powerful earthquakes in Nepal this year killed almost 9,000 people, have raised the risk of landslides across the mountainous country during the rainy season, which lasts from June to September. And shifting focus to some political news now, well, an all-party meeting convened by the Lok Sabha Speaker on Thursday failed to break the parliamentary deadlock, with the opposition staying put on its demand for the resignation of ministers. In fact, after the failed attempt to bring the opposition on board, the government has now indicated that it was ready to convene another all-party meet to end the parliament logjam. The indication came after the opposition threw the ball in the government's court, saying that it was for it to take an initiative and the logjam would continue till then. Speaker Sumitra Mahajan said that she wanted a consensus against undignified modes of protest like members raising placards in the House or rushing into the well, and claimed that most parties agreed with her views, making it clear that there would be no let-up in the opposition protests. The Congress has said that it was the government's responsibility to run the House and accused it of not reaching out to the opposition at the start of the session. The opposition has been seeking resignations of External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj and Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan Chief Ministers Shivraj Singh Chauhan and Vasundhara Raje. And this issue has paralyzed Parliament for the last 2 weeks, with the government rejecting their demand.
मिलके कुछ रूल्स बनाए तो उसका पालन होना चाहिए। परंपरागत अगर पहले पालन नहीं हुआ, 2001 में नहीं हुआ, 2003 में नहीं हुआ, या 2011 में नहीं हुआ, या 12 में नहीं हुआ, इसलिए 15-16 में भी नहीं होना चाहिए। क्या इसी बात को हम लेकर चले क्या?
To take initiative, they are not taking initiative. They don't want to run house smoothly. They don't want to tackle the problems. They want to keep the issues alive. So it is left to them.
सरकार के द्वारा गठित दोनों सेलेक्ट कमेटी, रियल एस्टेट भी और जीएसटी भी, उसमें हमने सहयोग किया और सर्वसम्मति से दोनों सेलेक्ट कमेटी में बिल पास कराए। तो ये आरोप भी आप हम पे नहीं लगा सकते हैं कि हम कोऑपरेट नहीं कर रहे या बिजनेस नहीं करना चाहते। लेकिन बुनियादी प्रश्न है, नैतिकता के आधार पर, सबूत के आधार पर मंत्री जब तक इस्तीफा नहीं देते तब तक ये जाम टूटना संसद का मुझको असंभव लगता है।
राष्ट्रीय अंतर्राष्ट्रीय उन सवालों से न सरकार भागे, न बहस करने से सदन भागे, वो होनी चाहिए। जहां नहीं होती है तभी जो है सत्ता और विपक्ष में कहीं न कहीं जो है स्थिति ऐसी बनती है जिसको निपटाने का काम जो है मुख्य रूप से जिम्मेदारी सरकार की होती है।
All right, joining me for a chat this morning is senior journalist Mr. Prabhu Chawla. Thank you so much, sir, this morning for joining us. Sir, now the all-party meeting convened by the Lok Sabha Speaker yesterday failed to break the parliamentary deadlock, and considering the kind of disruptions that we have seen in the parliament for the last 2 weeks, was this a foregone result?
Yeah, obviously, because when there is no need to talk, because the people are not feeling from both sides that they should give up some kind of a confrontationist approach. Because in politics, you have to take and give. And nobody is willing to take anything, nobody is willing to give anything. So when there is no reaching point where you can meet and discuss possibilities of dialogue, I think that is missing because of electoral politics. Bihar elections are around the corner, and people are looking at the election rather than the interest of the country. They just want to wash away the entire monsoon session to garner some votes in Bihar, and followed by UP and after that West Bengal. I don't think there is any attempt, any element in any party, including the BJP, Congress and everybody else, who is willing to initiate a dialogue in the interest of the nation. Because they want to score their own brownie point. They want to shout down each other. Now the terror attack has taken place in India. I expected all the opposition parties to come together and discuss this issue at all. Okay, you can stick to your demand for resignation of the minister, but at the same time, when the nation is in danger, you must give up some kind of your adamant demands and come to the talking table. After discussing terror, you could have again gone back to the confrontation again saying, okay, we want to protest. But there seems to be lack of interest in coming to the table for discussing major problems which this country is facing for the past many years. They are not discussing education, they are not discussing GST, they are not discussing the land bill. All of them are in the position of scoring just brownie points.
Sir,
the petty politics has taken over the national interest.
Right, after 7 wasted sittings of the monsoon session of Parliament, the government, of course, for the first time probably has hinted at the possibility of convening an all-party meeting to break the ongoing deadlock. So obviously the nation wants to know what took the government so long. Why could they have not thought about it before?
You see, they tried one party. I think Mr. Modi attended last week also one party where nothing happened. You are absolutely right. It took government almost, they should have anticipated the trouble. The ruling party job is to anticipate what kind of problems opposition can create for them. It is always the long-term vision of a ruling party which makes the parliament to function properly. It is the responsibility, of course, of the government to make sure that the parliament runs properly. When they were in the opposition, they were also behaving almost the same way. The last session of the 14th Lok Sabha, 40% of the Rajya Sabha, 14% of the 40% of the time was wasted on disruptions alone. If you go back to the history, from the 1996 onwards, Parliament has not been allowed to function more than 75% of the time. Because the level of politics has gone down. That is the issue which is happening. Caste-based politics is coming into the play. Individual egos are coming into play. There are big leaders with small egos. There are no leader who can just come like Atal Bihari Vajpayee or somebody like Indira Gandhi or Jawaharlal Nehru who can command the respect of the opposition party. That is what is happening. We are missing great leaders who can accommodate the point of view of each other. That is the problem happening in this country. The leaders are egoistic, personalized, confrontationist, and they don't want to compromise on their egos.
Right, but last question. Do you think there is some dilution of Congress's stand, considering that they're saying that the government is not reaching out to them? Do you see some sort of dilution there?
No, I don't see. This is tactic. Basically, there is if you look at Mr. Rahul Gandhi's statement, which he gave a couple of weeks ago, that they will not allow the parliament unless there are resignations. So he has already expressed his intent, what he intends to do. But these are all political tactics because, okay, we hot and blow at the same time. The question is, because the public is asking why you are disrupting the parliament all the time. So it is obvious that they will give a statement, but I think these statements are also meant for only public consumption. But when it's come to practice, I don't think Congress party is in a mood to give up any such opportunities where it can put the ruling party on the mat. I think they got an opportunity on the land bill. They got an opportunity on various ministers and chief ministers. I don't think they will let this opportunity go.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and sharing your perspective on that story. All right, let's move on in the bulletin now. The hanging of Mumbai blast convict Yaqub Memon has triggered a debate on death penalty in our country. And a resonance of that debate is expected in Parliament as well. CPI's D. Rajya is slated to move a private member resolution in the Rajya Sabha on the issue. The leader has said that till the government and Parliament decide upon death penalty statute, India should have a moratorium of death sentences. Reiterating his party's opposition to capital punishment, D. Rajya said that India should say no to the death penalty.
The time has come. Our nation, India, our government, our parliament should take a position to say emphatic no to capital punishment, death penalty. And whatever provisions are there in law, in statute, for giving death sentence should be abolished, should be removed.
And the select panel examining the real estate bill tabled its report in the Rajya Sabha on Thursday. It made several recommendations but adopted major amendments proposed by the government. The Congress, the AIADMK, the CPM and the Samajwadi Party, however, tendered dissent notes.
In its report on the real estate bill, the 21-member Select Committee recommended that only 50% collected from buyers should be kept in an escrow account, the money to be used only to construct the project. The original bill drafted by the UPA had mandated 70% kept in a separate bank account.
In fact, 50% is the minimum. Any state government, because we are in a federal structure, if any government wants to increase it, they can, in particular states. We have done this because only in Mumbai the case is different, in Bangalore the case is different, in the Andhra case is different, in Delhi NCR case is different.
The committee also said the promoter must disclose about exiting projects and the payment due on land title. It held that interest payable by the promoter and the allottee should be the same in case of default. It also says the definition of the word advertisement must be made more exhaustive to protect the interest of the home buyers.
Whatever builder will show, that should be given to the consumer. And it will not be possible tomorrow that you are showing something else and you are giving something else. And whatever you are telling at day one, that this will be the project, these will be the buildings, total stories will be this much, parking area will be this much. That should be exactly there when the project is completed.
Registering dissent, the Congress and the CPM said constructions in smaller areas should be brought within the ambit of the bill. The AIADMK and the SP wanted states to legislate their own bill as land is a state subject. The Rajya Sabha had referred the Real Estate Regulation and Development Bill to a select committee on 6th of May. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And time now to take a very short break, but coming up after that, a 72-hour Bandh call in Jammu demanding an AIMS in the region. We'll get you all the details. Stay with us.
Our lab tried to use waste as a feedstock to produce various value-added products. In this way, we are producing hydrogen, electricity through microbial fuel cell, volatile fatty acids, and biodiesel.
Watch Eureka with Dr. S. Venkatamohan, Senior Scientist at CSIR IICT, Hyderabad, on Rajya Sabha Television. Get live Rajya Sabha session. News, views, reports and analysis you can trust on social media. Subscribe, follow, like Rajya Sabha Television.
Welcome back. News from Maharashtra. Well, as the protest by the students of the premier FTII in Pune over the appointment of their chairman continues, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi will meet them today. Around 250 students are on strike, demanding the removal of a small screen actor Gajendra Chauhan as the chairman of the Film Institute's governing council. They also want the formation of a committee which will make the rules for FTII's council. The students have been on a strike for nearly 50 days now, boycotting academic work after failure of their talks with Union Information and Broadcasting Minister Arun Jaitley in New Delhi on 3rd of July. The students had written a letter to Rahul Gandhi to support them and take up the issue of FTII, like he had taken up the issue of Ambedkar Periyar Study Circle in IIT Madras. Earlier, a number of filmmakers have also resigned as the members of the FTII Society, expressing their solidarity with the students there. And news from Jammu, where demanding AIMS institution in the region, a 72-hour-long bandh has been called from today by the AIMS Coordination Committee. The bandh has been announced despite Union Minister JP Nadda's announcement yesterday that an AIMS-like institution will be made available for both the regions in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, Nadda announced that the Jammu region will also get an AIMS-like facilities in the wake of demands by the locals for setting up a separate AIMS in the region. Nadda's statement came after a delegation from J&K comprising State Deputy Chief Minister Nirmal Singh, Health Minister Lal Singh, State BJP President Jugal Kishore Sharma, Party J&K Affairs in charge Avinash Rai Khanna, and General Secretary Narendra Singh met him yesterday in the presence of Union Finance Minister Arun Jaitley. The centre had already announced setting up such an institution in Kashmir Valley. An amalgamation of over 70 organizations have been demanding for setting up of AIMS in the Jammu region. They have decided to go ahead with the strike despite the announcement. And let's take a quick look at what are the stories that will make news through the course of the day in our special segment Day Ahead. India and Bangladesh will start the exchange of 162 adversely held enclaves, marking the start of implementation of their landmark land boundary agreement. While India will hand over 51 enclaves comprising 7,110 acres to Bangladesh, the neighbouring country will give India 111 enclaves comprising around 17,160 acres. Bangladesh and India will implement the LBA of 1974 and the Enabling Protocol of September 2011 in a phased manner over the next 11 months. Framing of charges against former Jharkhand Chief Minister Madhu Koda and 8 others will take place today. A special court in Delhi had ordered framing of charges of corruption, criminal conspiracy and cheating in connection with the coal block allocation case. Special CBI Judge Bharat Parashar ordered framing of charges against 2 public servants, its directors and chartered accountant. A court has fixed today to hear a defamation case against Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal for using the derogatory word "thulla" for Delhi police personnel. Metropolitan Magistrate Anu Agarwal has asked the complainant, Constable Harvinder, to file a clarification regarding how the Chief Minister's remark made during a recent interview to a news channel has provoked a breach of peace. A Bihar court will today hear a defamation case against Prime Minister Narendra Modi. JDU MLA from Baharia, Sham Bahadur Singh, has filed a complaint in a court in Bihar's Siwan district, charging the Prime Minister with hurting the sentiments of the people of the state by questioning the DNA of Chief Minister Nitish Kumar. And Mullah Akhtar Mansoor has been appointed as the successor to elusive Taliban leader Mullah Omar after both Afghan government and Taliban confirmed Omar's death. Now, Mansoor has been serving as the deputy to Omar. However, the Taliban statement failed to mention where, when or how Omar died. Peace talks between Afghanistan and the insurgents once again got stalled with the confirmation of Omar's death.
The elusive one-eyed Taliban leader Mullah Muhammad Omar is dead. His deputy Mullah Akhtar Mansoor has taken charge as the new chief. Ending 2 years of speculations and rumors whether Omar is dead or alive, both Afghan government and Taliban confirmed that he is no more. There are conflicting reports on his death. The government says Mullah Omar died in a hospital in Karachi in Pakistan in April 2013. However, Taliban statement remained silent on the details of his death, with a few hinting that he died recently. Members of the Jamaat-ud-Dawa offered funeral prayers for Omar in Lahore on Thursday.
We have seen reports about Mullah Omar's death. Rumors about his death have been circulating for some time now. Our authorities, therefore, are trying to check the veracity of the reports.
Commenting on the specifics of these reports, we do believe the reports of his death are credible. Beyond that, I'm not going to be in a position to comment on the specifics surrounding his death.
With the word of Omar's death, the insurgency in Taliban has evidently surfaced. Reports suggest that a fraction of the Taliban preferred Mullah Omar's son Yaqub to succeed him instead of a pro-Pakistani leader Mullah Mansoor. Mansoor is for peace talks. However, critics fear that the move may scuttle the most promising peace talks in Afghanistan in a decade. The Pak negotiated talks have already been postponed. It was scheduled to take place later in the day.
Efforts are being made for facilitating the second round of peace talks between the Afghan Taliban and Afghan government.
Omar's death could be decisive for Taliban. For more than a decade, he served as a unifying force of Taliban. With the rise of Islamic State, few Taliban members has already shown leniency towards the terror group, a much more dangerous trend. The progress of peace talks in coming weeks will determine whether Afghanistan follows the route of Syria, Yemen and Libya towards a state collapse, especially at a time when the Obama administration has withdrawn the vast majority of US troops from Afghanistan, bolstering the efforts of the Taliban hardliners. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And more international news and updates in our World Wrap. Debris found on the Indian Ocean island of Reunion is being transported to France to find out whether it is from the missing flight MH370. Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak has said that the French authorities would take the debris to the southern French city of Toulouse to verify as quickly as possible. Malaysia has also sent a team to Reunion to survey the area where the plane debris was found. The Malaysian Airlines flight MH370 vanished while travelling from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing in March 2014. There were 239 passengers and crew on board. The International Monetary Fund is wary of any financial contribution to a third Greek bailout. An IMF official said that the fund would not get involved until there was an explicit and concrete agreement between Greece and its Eurozone partners on how to provide debt relief. The statement comes even as the Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras battles to win the backing of his party for the austerity program demanded by the rest of Eurozone. While the IMF's involvement, Greece's Eurozone partners will have to find more funds to meet Athens' short-term financing needs. Russia has blocked a UN Security Council resolution that would have created an international tribunal to prosecute those responsible for bringing down Malaysia Airlines flight over Ukraine. Russia was alone in the 15-member council in voting against the establishment of the tribunal. Now 11 members voted in favour. MH17, which was bound from the Netherlands to Malaysia, was shot down in July last year over Ukrainian territory controlled by pro-Russian separatists. Disputes over who is responsible for the disaster have soured relations between Moscow and the West. The White House would review a public petition to extradite Walter Palmer, noting that it had exceeded a required 1 lakh signatures. The killing of Cecil the Lion in Zimbabwe by the American dentist and trophy hunter Palmer is being investigated by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Palmer reportedly paid park guides $50,000 to kill the lion during a hunting trip this month, and he remains in hiding amid global uproar. Any petition to the White House that attracts over 1 lakh names within 30 days must receive an official response. And now time for all this latest sporting action. Here is our sports beat. England were bowled out for 281 runs in their first innings on day 2 of the third Ashes Test. England started the day trailing by 3 runs, but they were 7 wickets down before crossing the 200 mark. Joe Root, Ian Bell and Moeen Ali struck half-centuries to give England a lead of 145 runs in the first innings. Hazelwood and Nathan Lyon took 3 wickets each. Australia reached 73 for 2 at tea, still trailing by 72 runs. Matuidi and Ibrahimovic scored first-half goals to help Paris Saint-Germain beat Manchester United in the International Champions Cup. The victory moved the French team to the top of the table, along with New York Red Bulls. The build-up to the match had been dominated by speculation surrounding United's Argentine star, Angel Di Maria, who is expected to complete a move to PSG soon. Spain's Rafael Nadal is through to the quarterfinals of the Hamburg Open after defeating Jiri Veselé 6-4, 7-6. Nadal, who won the tournament in the year 2008, won an important break in the third game of the first set. He then broke the Czech in the fifth game to go 3-2 up. In the quarters, he is going to meet Uruguayan fifth seed Pablo Cuevas. International Olympics Committee delegates arrived into a conference centre in downtown Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, ahead of the vote to decide the host cities of 2022 Winter Olympics and also 2020 Winter Youth Olympics. Around 85 members of the 100 IOC are expected to vote at the 128th session, with a straight majority sufficient to decide the outcome. Security operation is being mounted for the Rio de Janeiro Olympic Games. Next year will be the largest operation in the country's history. Around 85,000 security personnel will be involved during the event. Brazilian authorities said that the Rio Olympics is equivalent to 65 World Cups in terms of security necessities. The Games will be carried out across 33 different installations in Rio and 5 football stadiums throughout the country, while the Olympic torch relay will visit 250 Brazilian cities. Well, that's all in this edition of Breakfast News. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day ahead.